Hello.
Hola, everybody.
How are you?
In a hotel room. So,
Yeah.
as good as I can be.
Glad you're here.
I've been better. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So all the shit that's gone on, I've been a lot better.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, though.
Me too.
I gotta mute my phone. There we go. But yeah.
Also, really sorry about the mid 2000s camera quality. This laptop. Shit.
Well, hello everyone. How are you?
Hello.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. We're missing 4. And Chuck was unable to join us last week. He had personal issues. I don't know if he's going to make it this week.
Who?
Chuck.
Melanie said, or not Melanie. I'm sorry, I looked at you. My apologies.
What's up?
Sarah said that she was recording stuff on Twitter like an hour ago. So,
Yeah, she was what?
recording things for a podcast an
Oh,
hour ago. And Melanie, I accidentally said your name when trying to say Sarah, so that's why I was apologizing.
Oh, that's okay.
Rudy too. Sarah. Okay. That's your little podcast. All right. Very good. Well, let's see. All right. Let's see. 5 of us here. So, Braden, I think, oh, there's Sarah Ruth. Braden, I think I sent you an old YouTube video of a PVC pipe. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I did an interview the other day with Casting Call Club, and the girl from Casting Call, Yenny, who was Sarah's roommate at VO Atlanta, was in a PVC pipe booth.
Yeah, she posted a tour of it. I want to say earlier this week. She showed her booth.
I think it's worth talking about and worth because I think some of us are still struggling with a good place to record. And I don't know that I want to. I wonder if I could do it in here. I am thinking I may want. I'm gonna do it next week, but I've got an old video of it. But anyway, we're talking less than $200, guys, for you to get a good recording booth. John,
I made my booth out of a trifold privacy screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's worked really well. So
yeah, there's a dude online. I mean, everybody's online. There's a dude who watched his videos early on, and he goes down to his basement and works every day, and he's got one of those little trifold screens covered in foam, and he's got another one behind him, and the microphones in between them. I'm a fan of having even more surrounding you than that, but who says you can't have 2 or 3 of those? In my last class, Zach Hendricks was one of my students, and he built a PVC pipe frame, and then he built sound panels like the ones that Tim Tippett describes online and put those in between. And I don't remember how he sealed them up, but he basically just built a pretty impressive booth.
How is Zach?
Zach's great. He emailed me the other day about something. I don't even remember what anymore. Oh, I was doing something live and he tuned in. Oh, when I was doing the live thing showing off the new. Oh, speaking of the new thing, you remember when I showed you guys OSIN audio and the punch and roll?
Mm-hmm.
They just announced that feature went live on Twisted Wave today. So I'm pretty excited. I hadn't even gotten a chance to update my software or anything like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
the PVC pipe booth, you don't even have to be that handy to build this thing. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you buy PVC pipe. And it's basically like Tinker Toys, if you remember playing with those in kindergarten. You buy the pipe, you got to cut the pipe, but you buy a hacksaw. And those are in the saws, and they're designed for cutting pipe. But really, any saw will cut pipe. It's plastic pipe, a wood saw, a hacksaw, a bone saw. All of those will cut. And there's PVC cutters too. Thanks, Steve. And so you can do all that, and then you buy the little fittings that are shaped like T's or Y's or X's, and you just put the pipe together. I'll show you guys a little bit more next week. But then moving blankets at Harbor Freight are under $10 a piece, and a lot of times they have a sale where you get one free with any purchase. So I've got several small moving blankets that are like this wide, so they fit right between the two pieces of PVC pipe. And I got one big thick one that goes over the top, kind of like the roof. And that covers everything. And it sounds amazing. I mean, you don't want to do a live session with a client and say, yes, I'm coming to you live from my tent that I built. But really, there's no reason you can't have a good sound and space for way under $200. I would say under 100. Especially if you can find used PVC pipe somewhere. Again, I'll show you more next week. I'll try to. I'll do this from my phone, and I'll set it up out in the living room or something and put it up on my table. Okay. What else was I going to talk about? There was something that happened. Oh, Steve. Short show and tell. Steve has been in contact with my friend Chris McCann this week. Chris is a voice actor out of Birmingham. I'm considering having Chris as a guest speaker. I've had him before, and he was popular. Melanie?
Steve, how did you get him to get a hold of you? Because I reached out to him on his website, and he still hasn't gotten back to me.
I just looked him up on Facebook and messaged him there, and then he pointed me towards his email.
Perfect. I'll do that. Thank you.
He's super nice, super responsive. Sorry, I'm going to tell him his website contact form sucks. Chris is Birmingham, Alabama, went 0 to hero in voiceover in about 3 years. And what I mean 0 to hero is from not making any money, never heard of it, to 6 figures in about 3 years. And part of that, you'll hear this story from people sometimes like, what's your secret to moving so fast? And it's singularity of purpose. I lost my job. And it's like, I'm going to make this work. It's all I have to focus. And it's an intensity like no other when you realize you've got a spouse and kids who have to eat. And you've got to figure this thing out. And he'll tell the story better than I do. But anyway, Chris, along the way, was like, look, I know I need a $2,000 demo from J. Michael Collins or somebody. But in the meantime, I got to get some demos that'll get me some work. And he made all of his own demos except for one. I think his commercial demo, Steve, is the J. Michael Collins one. But he's pretty good at them. Like his demos are good. He emailed me the other day and he's like, hey dude, give me some feedback. Sarah Ruth, I think he must have gone to Stefan's video game voiceover demo session because it seemed like he had done exactly what Stefan had said to do. And I was like, well, this sounds good. This sounds good. I would split these up because these sound the same. It sounds like you've got 2 old British wizards in there. So get rid of one of them because you're wasting 6 seconds of a chance for a client to, the more I listen to demos and talk about them, the more I'm able to articulate things. So it occurred to me that I think people listen to your demo twice. They listen to it the first time to see if they want to ever deal with you again. And then they listen to it the second time when they're looking for a voice. So if you've got character voices and there's 10 character voices on there and they listen to the first one and it's an old British wizard and they go, no, not looking for that. And then the second one is a baby duck and they're like, no, that's not what we're looking for. And the third one is an artificial intelligence and they go, no, that's not what we're looking for. And the fourth one is angsty millennial and they're like, that's it. That's who I was looking for. That's fantastic. And so, or, it sounds something like what they're looking for. Braden, are you having technical difficulties? I'm so sorry. He's so frustrated.
I'm trying. This computer is old as can be, so I'm trying to fix the camera that way it doesn't change exposure when I move my hand to drink.
You could do this. You could do it from a phone if you have a smartphone.
It's about to die, and I need iPhone.
They sell chargers for phones. They're affordable.
But I have to have headphones while charging. You can't do that.
Oh man, yeah, because Apple's changing the world of ports. I am not excited about it. I bought a brand new laptop like a year and a half ago, and I was like, yes, I'm on board. I have 2 Lightning connectors or Thunderbolt ports. Yes, and I bought an interface made just for that. It's the worst. I've got more cables coming out of that sucker that are adapters for. It looks like a heart patient. I've got so many cables going in and out of that thing, dongles, and every time I travel, I'm like, I want to project in a projector at a convention, and I've got to bring adapters for an HDMI cable and a VGA, and I mean, just it's the worst. And I miss my MacBook from like 4 years ago that had an HDMI port in the side and the Cat 5 cable port in the side, and I just don't get it. Apple has not convinced me that this is better.
Yeah, I've got.
Literally the reason I have not upgraded yet.
I have to upgrade for school because my college, everything is done on MacBooks. So I have to learn how to write, produce, and do all that on a Mac. Coming from a Windows my entire life, I'm like, oh my God, what is this?
I'm with you, dude.
So,
I had my employer, when I was a teacher, we all had Macs at the school I was at. And so you go through all the classes, like welcome to Mac, and here's, and the teachers were always good because they were like, well, you remember you did it this way on a PC, you did it this way on a Mac. Well, after a year, I got pretty comfortable with it. And I realized that everything on a Mac is better than on a PC. And so you too will come to enjoy the Kool-Aid. And what I mean by that is like when I go, I cannot figure out how to put a link to a URL on my desktop, and so I Google, how do you put a link to a URL on your desktop on a Mac? And then when you read how to do it, you're like, that's like the best way ever. Why don't you do that on a PC? It's like, oh, you just drag the little picture by the URL out onto the desktop. Okay. I know that there's a way to, minimize my screen so that it does this. And you look it up and you're like, oh, okay, it was just a different shortcut or whatever. So, there's not a control key on a Mac. There's a command key and, there's some little things like that. But overall, I found everything on the Mac to be easier and a little more intuitive than on the PC. However, PCs are better for gaming, I hear. So whatever. All right. So welcome to class. Here we are, good 11 minutes in. We're still not talking about anything to the voiceover. No, I'm lying. We talked about PVC pipe booths, which is
and we talked about how Macs are better. I don't know.
And as far as voiceover goes, neither the Mac nor the PC is really better. It's just a question of what you're comfortable with, because all the recording softwares and all the interfaces and all that stuff connect the same, and PCs are more affordable. So if money's an issue at the beginning of your voiceover career, if you have more time than money, then maybe PC is the way to go, because you can get a lot of PC for $400 and you can't get a lot of Mac for $400. You can't even
get a Mac. You can get a monitor.
I bought one a couple of years ago for $500 and it was fine. It's my wife's computer now, but I got scammed too. Oh man, I lost $500 on. I was so. I don't get scammed. Okay, I got scammed. Okay, so we talked about the PVC pipe booth. Where was I going with this? I wanted to talk a little bit about the Actors Union. I was really hoping Phil would tune in for this because he's an LA person, and everything about the union is different for him than it is for everybody else. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I learned at VO Atlanta. You remember I had several topics that we could choose from. And I'm going to go over a couple more of those too. And then next week, I think we're going to start talking about marketing a little bit more, email marketing. But just know that all your marketing efforts revolve around having a demo. So that's why I've kind of delayed that until this time. Okay. The union. Have I talked about the union? I've talked about agents. Okay. The union, which I will refer to as the union, is now official for voice actors, is now officially called SAG-AFTRA. You will often hear it shortened to SAG, and then you will hear some nitpicky voiceover actors somewhere say, it's not SAG. SAG and AFTRA merged in 2013, and it's SAG-AFTRA. Okay? And I'm just like, whatever, shut up. So SAG was the Screen Actors Guild. AFTRA was the American Federation of TV and Radio Artists. So really, most radio people and voice actors were in AFTRA, American Federation of TV and Radio Art. Yeah, because Screen Actors Guild, only if you did voices in movies. So SAG and AFTRA merged. And the deal was, if you were a member of one, then you became a member of both. But if you were a member of neither, then it was still just as hard to get in as ever. So there's so much I could say about the unions. The bottom line is this union exists in order to promote fair working conditions for actors. Most of us take that to mean rates, to make sure that rates are fair. It also means working conditions. If you've been following voiceover for a couple of years, you may remember there was a big voice actor strike on several big video game companies. I want to say Blizzard was one of them. But anyway, they were striking for fair working conditions, because what happens is they would get pulled into some video game session and be required to scream battle shouts for 5-6 hours, damage their vocal cords, ruin themselves forever. It was unsafe working conditions and all that. And so they were protesting for higher pay, and they were protesting for better working conditions. It was worth doing because it's better now. The first rule, global rule 1, you'll hear it called, of SAG-AFTRA is, if you are a member of SAG-AFTRA, you cannot and must not do work that is non-union work. You and me, you and I, do mostly non-union work. And there are many voice actors out there making $200,000 a year or more who are strictly non-union voice actors. Most of our LA big names are in the union, and therefore they do not do non-union work. But more on that in a bit. So that's a downfall. You'll hear a lot of people say, you don't want to join the union until you're ready to not do non-union work. Because if you're making 10, 20, 30, $100,000 a year in non-union work and you join the union, you just gave up all that. Maybe. We'll see. I got lots of opinions about the union. You're going to get a lot of opinions in the next 20 minutes or so. So that's the union. Now, all of us in this room, this virtual room that we're in, I'm pointing at, I just realized, let me move this over. There you are. Hello, everyone. I have 2 monitors. I was looking over at that one. All of us in this room, our ultimate goal in voiceover is to be a big union talent. The rates are higher in the union. The residuals come more frequently in the union. And what I mean by residuals is if you provide a voice for the Transformers movie, then every time the Transformers movie makes money, you make money. So you think of people were kind of outraged when Bill Cosby did all this bad stuff because they pulled the Cosby Show off the air, and all those Cosby kids that really weren't that good actors, but that were still making a living off the Cosby Show, playing on 5 or 6 channels 3 or 4 times a day, every day, were all of a sudden without those residual payments. You remember, I can't even remember the actor's name, but he was working in a Trader Joe's. Remember, and he got job shamed. He was one of the Cosby Show stars and really hasn't done much since then. He's on Broadway a little bit. He's done a little bit. He's making money, but he clearly wasn't making enough because he's working at Trader Joe's. Well, part of that is because Bill Cosby molested people and people found out about it, and they pulled the show off the air. And so now Elton, I think that was his name on the show, is not making any money more. So residuals are a good thing. They're awesome. There's lots of my friends in LA, and every month they get 9 or 10 envelopes in the mail, and they're all little residual checks from something. That happens a lot with commercials too. You record a good commercial and it stays on the air for 3, 4, 5 years. Every time it gets reused, you get that money. Whereas non-union commercials tend to pay one time and it's a buyout. I got $2,500 for that Virgin Mobile commercial, and it didn't run more than a few weeks. But it sure would have been. But the Homewood Suites commercial I did, I've told you, they ran it one more night on NBC and they sent me $2,500. So it would be really nice to have one of those commercials that, was in the Super Bowl and then they kept running it. There's some commercials that just are still going years later. Those are the dream gigs. So the union is kind of where we want to be. Kind of. In the meantime, we want to be making big money in the non-union market. There are a lot of arguments in the voiceover communities about the union and the non-union. You'll hear union actors on camera say things like, if you're non-union, you're just part of the problem. You're just feeding this, whatever. Okay, whatever. I'm not here to try to sustain a union. I'm just trying to feed my family. Okay, that's kind of the attitude you got to have at the beginning. Or you can have the attitude that, you know what, I'm going to help sustain the union. And if I don't make any money in the process, that's fine. But I think most of us are thinking we might like to make a little money in the process. So I'm trying to say this nicely. The arguments that happen sometimes are very akin to modern political arguments in that, and I'm not taking any political sides right now because everybody on both sides of the aisles is just a straight up whack job right now. But the attitude is, if you disagree with me, I hate you and everything you stand for forevermore, and you suck. And that's kind of the attitude that's going on. But here's the problem with here's the problem with the union. The union is largely LA and New York. I know union actors out in the middle of the country. Let me back up. I'm sorry. On-camera actors, it's very important to be in the union pretty quickly. Voice actors, you can go your whole career, 20, 30, 40 years without ever joining the union and make plenty of money. You will not get a vocal part in Transformers or a Disney movie, probably. I don't know. Well, so the union is largely New York and LA, some Chicago, and then other countries have their own unions too. Canada's got ACTRA, and there's a theater version of the union called is it Actors Equity? Some of you are more okay. Jenny's saying yes. But the union seems to be a lot like Congress in that it has not yet caught up with technology and with the rapidly changing world. They are very stuck on how things used to be. They are not very welcoming to you if you live in Maryland, or Kansas. They're more than willing for you to pay your dues, but other than that, they don't really have a whole lot for you. What I really see is mostly a lot of protests and what they're against, and not a lot of what they're for. I get like celebration notifications that we are going to strike. And I'm like, what? That's not good news. That's bad news, right? That means people are going to stand out in the hot sun with protest. Yes, we're going to have a pre-strike party. And I'm like, what's the matter with you people? Strikes we'll do it, but we should do it with a bad taste in our mouth. We should hold our nose and have to go strike. But it's almost like we're so excited about it, and it just, I don't know. So how to join the union? The main way to join the union is to do union work. The main way to get union work is to be in the union. So the main way to join the union if you are non-union is, on occasion, your agents will send you auditions that are union work, and whoever is hiring is willing to hire non-union talent to do the union work. Once you've done one union voiceover job, you can then join the union. There's a couple other ways to join the union. If you're going to say 3, Braden, it's not 3, it's 1. It's 1.
I was asking if it was for free.
No. The union, it costs a lot to join the union. If you live in California, it's like $3,000 to join, but part of that is like your initial join, and part of that is like your first annual dues. In Mississippi, it was like $1,000. So different states, different. Once you have done 3 union jobs, you are what the union calls a must join, and you may never do another union job again until you join the union. But you can do 3. However, there's a loophole. If you live in a right-to-work state, you have the right to work. You can keep doing union jobs forevermore without joining the union. But again, the trick there is that somebody has to give you union work. Typically, right to work states are red states. So Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Atlanta, all are right to work states. California is not. New York is not. So bear that in mind. If you live in, you have to look it up whether you're in a right to work state or not. But it doesn't really matter until you start getting union work. So, yeah, 3,000, it's way too much. But that's in California and New York. Those are the big states. So when I joined the union, it was 1,000 in Mississippi. And yes, I am sort of a union member. We'll talk about that. So my big goal, I don't know, a year or two ago was I said, I got to join the union so I could start wooing these LA agents, because I got kind of dropped off that LA roster because I wasn't in LA and I wasn't in the union and I wasn't booking work either. So I said, I got to get back in the union. I mean, I got to get in the union. Then I'm going to email these LA agents and say, I'm in the union. I'm not going to bother to say whether I'm in LA or not. I might even get a fake LA Google Voice number and say, yeah, I'm in LA, whatever. You want me there tomorrow? I can fly there tomorrow. $500. Here we go. We'll see. So I joined. So I said, how do you join the union? I hear all these union voice actors talking about converting work. So they're in essence doing non-union work, but as long as that non-union work pays what the union says it should pay, they're converting that job into a union job, and then it counts as union work. Why would they do that? Let me talk about the other union benefit that we all want. If you are making money on union productions, once you make $17,000 a year and change, you qualify for union health insurance. At like $33,000, there's a second tier of health insurance, the good tier. So those people who are getting residuals from the Cosby Show or whatever, forevermore, are on that. They're on the high tier. They're making 50, 100 grand a year, just free money coming to their house. The other benefit is there's a pension. The union has a pension. If you're young and you don't know what a pension is, or perhaps you have one of those jobs where that is not even a word that anyone mentions, a pension is an account that money gets put into, and one day when you're old, you can have all that money. It's called retiring. It's a retirement fund. Government employees, teachers, policemen tend to have pensions. Bankers tend to not. They have to come up with their own plan. But when your employer is putting money in, so a lot of people just say SAG-AFTRA is my employer. So there are these people who are union voice actors in LA or New York or whatever, and they're still looking at all the auditions on voices.com and wherever else. And as long as the rate is good, according to the union, then they audition for it. And if they get it, they convert that job to a union job. There's a process by which you do that. E-learning tends to always pay the union scale. Commercials tend not to. If you get a little local radio commercial, it's $150. The union will say that's not enough money. You can't do that. The union wants like $400 for that, $500. So lots of companies out in the middle of the country don't give a rip about the union. They never even heard of it. Never even occurred to them to look for union talent. So there's, as you can imagine, it's a big continent and there's lots of work to be done. So these people will talk about converting these gigs to union. So I had the question, can you convert a gig in the first place in order to join the union? So I called my friend, Mike Brang, who is a genius on converting jobs and on the union and everything. Mike is the one, I've mentioned him before. He's one of the voices of Toyota. Toyota alone pays 6 figures. He's making, I can't remember what he said he was making, $600,000, $700,000 a year. And his agent said he'd have him at 7 figures in the next 2 years. And he auditioned and almost got the gig as the announcer on The Voice. And he made it through everything, met the producers. They said the last step is you have to come in and meet the cast, and they just kind of have to give you the okay. It's kind of a formality. Of course, you're going to make it through. So he comes in and he interviews with the cast, and he leaves. And later the producer called him and says, dude, we're going to have to go with somebody else. Whoopi Goldberg says she doesn't want a white dude from LA. She wants a black dude from New York. And I'm like, and he said, so at least I can say I got cut by Whoopi. But, you know, the rest of us all shake our heads like, that's not racist at all. So anyway, so Mike's doing well. So I say, Mike, tell me about the union. How do you convert work? Can you convert work to join the union? He's like, yeah, absolutely you can. He says, here's the deal, man. And nobody likes to say this. Everybody in the union does non-union work. Everybody. And I said, what? What's all this stink about? He says, everybody does it. There's probably some people who don't, but we all do it. Here's the deal. You're only going to get in trouble with the union if you get caught. And you're only going to get caught if A, somebody rats you out. You know, obviously don't do a big non-union thing where your name is in the credits, like Five Nights at Freddy's, which I know a union actor who's in the Five Nights at Freddy's games and his name's in the credits. He says, somebody's got to rat you out. Well, nobody's going to rat you out because they're all involved in the non-union production. So what do they care? And number two, there's got to be paper trail. And there's no paper trail because it's non-union work. So there's no, he says, however, if you do get busted, then the union slaps you on the wrist and says, you're not supposed to do that. Don't do that anymore. If you do it again, we might kick you out of the union. And that's when you go what's called FICOR. FICOR stands for Financial Core. So if you are a member of the financial core of the union, you are what is essentially a dues-paying non-member. In other words, you get all the benefits of the union. You're just not a member, so you can't vote on like who the president of the union is. Currently, I think it's Gabrielle Carteris, who played Andrea on Beverly Hills 90210. So that's a superstar. Anyway, she always just comes on with it. The financial core exists because legally a union cannot make you subscribe to their political viewpoints, but they cannot deny you the benefits of the workers' union. So you might be asking, why wouldn't everybody just go FICOR? Because if you're FICOR, you can do union work and non-union work, by the way. Why wouldn't everybody just do that? Well, because some people kind of think it's the kiss of death. There are some people in Hollywood that will not hire you if you're not FICOR. There are some diehard union fanatics. They're usually pretty liberal. That's where I was going with that. Politically, they lean really hard to the left. The giants of FICOR, Charlton Heston, James Woods, John Voight, those are actors that typically lean pretty hard to the right at the expense of some pretty sweet roles, I imagine. John Voight often got beat down by Hollywood. Braden?
You mean to tell me if I join FICOR, I'll be with the likes of James Woods?
Yeah.
Sign me and the rest of America up.
I think James Woods is FICOR. If he isn't, I'll be surprised because he is a diehard conservative. He is an obnoxious. All he does is get on Twitter all day and stir people up. I mean, he's, oh my gosh. I mean, but he's hilarious regardless. If you're funny, I don't care what political side you're on. I just think you're funny. But Charlton Heston was a FICOR guy. John Voight was FICOR. In voiceover, it tends not to be the kiss of death. I know a few voice actors that are FICOR. I've got one that I'm trying to get to speak to this class. I got to email him back next week and see if he's going to do it. Okay, so you got the FICOR, you got the union, you got the non-union. There are a few voice hirers out there. On occasion, you'll get an audition that says non-union and FICOR only. In other words, it's somebody who doesn't want to deal with the union. Okay, so you do a union job. Oh, here's what Mike told me. So he says everybody does non-union work, but you just, somebody's going to rat you out or there's got to be a paper trail. He says, but if you want to be in the union, you just have to do a union job. So I thought, I'm going to do one union job. I'm going to convert it, and then I'll be in the union, and then I can get all this sweet union auditions. Well, I never really pursued it. So what happened? So here's what I did. I did one e-learning narration for my big client that I always do, and I emailed him and said, hey, I'm going to bill you slightly differently. I used a paymaster. Here's the other downside of the union, by the way. I used a paymaster called Falcon Paymaster, and what they do, because it's all kind of complicated, they say, okay, here's what you need to bill your client. So I sent all the information to the paymaster, and the paymaster billed my client. The client paid the paymaster. And because it was e-learning, they paid them an acceptable rate for e-learning. It's like, I don't know. The union thinks you should get like $700 or $800 per finished hour for e-learning, and really you should be getting way over $1,000. So pretty much any e-learning client you get will be paying you union rates. So they billed my client. My client paid the paymaster. The paymaster withheld my taxes, paid the union. I can't remember. Okay, they paid the union a certain percentage. They paid my state taxes. They paid my federal taxes, and then they kept 5%. So at the end of it, I was like, I think I may have got 60% of what I normally got. So you don't get to keep as much of the money, but the upside is the rates are usually higher. So I did that one job, then I applied and I joined the union. I paid my deposit, and then I didn't even pay any monthly dues. And I'm not in financial good standing with the union right now. But the benefit is I am a member of the union, and all I've got to do is get in good standing financially, send them $500 or whatever it is, and I'll be all the way union. So I can kind of use that right now to say I can do union and non-union work because I can, because I don't care. I'm not a big fan of the union. They don't seem to be doing a whole lot for me. But, you know, once I start to get big money, then, okay, we'll see. Hi, Phil. We've been talking about the union the whole time. You're going to want to go back and listen to it. LA, the attitude about the union in LA is a little bit different. It's important, especially if you're trying to be on camera. But in voiceover, maybe, maybe not. So the answer to, do I need an agent is not really. And the answer to, do I need to join the union is not really. However, all of this, you can go back and look at this video 8 months from now when you're thinking about it again. There's a lot of stuff that makes your head hurt about the union. There's a lot. And you'll hear me call it the union, and you'll hear me call it SAG, and someone else will say, it's not SAG, it's SAG-AFTRA, they merged. It's not important. You shouldn't call it SAG anymore. Say that, you know, whoever's saying that is somebody who's been in since the merger, and they're just they're old guard. Just come on. Any questions about the union? Except for Phil, don't ask any. You got here late. I'm kidding. Anybody?
So cruel, God.
Well, no, I just know that if you asked anything, I probably have already covered it.
I'm kidding.
It's your fault, Phil. You did this.
So you want to be in the union eventually. The money is bigger in the union eventually. However, you may decide that the money is okay out in the non-union world and never join. You may never move to LA. You know, you may, you know, however you want your career to go, but it's good to know that the union exists and what they're about. And even if you aren't in the union, it's good to know what union rates are, and you can still always use those. So let me bring you to a website. Where is it called? Did I delete it off my shortcuts? I believe I did. If you search SAG-AFTRA numbers, I think that's what I searched for. There it is. First thing that pops up, SAG-AFTRA numbers, version 1.0. It is a little calculator. I'm going to share the screen. All right. This is SAG-AFTRA numbers. Okay. You can afford union talent. So this site is really for people who are hiring. You click on start, obviously, and you go here, and this is all union rates. So you say, I'm hiring for, and let's say, well, a TV commercial voiceover.
Or erotica audiobook.
Nope. A TV commercial voiceover off camera. I'm going to need one principal actor. That's the voice actor. There's one version of the script, and I'm going to need 0 tags. You know, tags are the little things that maybe they change up from time to time. Like, I don't know, I did a commercial one time, and they had all these phone numbers that were tags. You know, like call 1-800-459-7281. Call 1-800-459-7282. I mean, and I had like 3 pages of those. And so that gig ended up paying like $7,000 because of all the tags. I had like 3 pages of tags, and each one's like $25. It was insane. This commercial will air only as a TV, let's say TV and on the internet. How about that? It will be broadcast as a wild spot for 13 weeks. I'm just making things up. It will be used on the internet or in new media. New media is, you know, new stuff. Social media, I guess. Well, I can't. It's with a 1-year option. So we're going to run it for 13 weeks. That's 3 months and change. 13 weeks is a fourth of a year. 13 times 4 is 52. And it'll be used on the internet or new media with a 1-year option. It'll be broadcast in the following markets. Let's say it's going to be Minneapolis, Atlanta, Baltimore, and Birmingham, Alabama. We're an unusual company. That's all we're interested in. So what this should cost the client is $4,169.68. How that's broken down is you, the actor, get a $505 session fee, and then you get a $220 usage fee for the TV, 13 weeks, and you get a $2,100 internet usage fee. So you get $505 for the session and $2,300 for the usage. That's $2,800 and change. Your agent gets $287 for a subtotal of $3,158. $568 goes to your pension, and $442 goes to taxes. Okay, all that just blows my mind. But that's pretty neat. I've actually used this before to charge somebody straight up union rates when I knew they had a lot of money. It was the government. And so I just charged them every bit of it. It was like, I think I charged them $1,100 to narrate like a museum tour. It was a lot. And I included the payroll taxes and all that stuff, even though I just kept all that money and didn't pay taxes on it. So that's a lot of money right there. But here's where the big money comes in. If they run that for another 13 weeks, then you get another $220. If they run that on the internet for another year, you get another $2,100. If they add some markets, let's add in Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Cincinnati. Okay. What is that? Oh, once we get to a certain amount, the session fee is kind of free. So Chicago's a major market. Just Chicago alone is $811 to run that for 13 weeks. So now anyway, that's fun. But this, if you wanted to play with it and say, okay, well, what about a corporate non-broadcast? Maybe this is a video for the local Pizza Hut to use to explain to people how to lock up the freezer at night. Then you look up Category 1 and Category 2. If you click on it, it says Category 2 are designed primarily to sell specific products. Okay, so this is informational. That's Category 1. To train or inform or promote a product or service or to perform a public relations function. Okay, so, and I'll need one actor. There you go. $608 for an hour. You, the actor, get to keep $425 of that for a corporate. So that's union work. Non-union, you might be willing to do that for $250. But it's nice to know what the California rates are. Okay, that's the union. No questions. We're moving on. I'm going to unshare this. Stop share.
Is there a huge perk to being a part of the union? Because you're a part of the union, you said, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
I
don't do anything with it. There's no perk for me.
Okay.
But the perk is the higher pay and the pension and the health insurance.
But then you have, depending on where you are, is it an annual fee or is it just like $3,000 forever?
No, it's an annual.
Yeah.
Annual
Okay.
membership. But it's not. Where do you live, Melanie?
Texas.
I don't think it's 3,000 in Texas.
Yeah.
It was 1,000 in Mississippi.
Probably close to that then, I think.
These are right to work states. It might be a little higher in Texas just because there's a little more film work in Texas. You got the bigger cities, but I don't know. But people are willing to do that because the money's big. So I've said it before. It's easy to make 6 figures in voiceover out here in the middle of the continent. To make 7 figures, you got to be in LA, and those are union actors. Like my friend Mike Brang, who's up there, that's all union work. Toyota is not paying $150,000 a year for an announcer that's not in the union. That may all change. And we're starting to see national brands casting non-union work on voices.com. There's people protesting it. There's people fighting it. They're like, let us know if you find somebody casting for non-union work that should be doing union. Well, I mean, I'm not going to let them know because I would gladly take $3,000 for a Coors Light commercial right now. I'm not going to, I don't know. It's such a hard boat to be in because what are you going to do? Not audition for it so somebody else gets it? You know what I mean? It's, okay, so let's say me, Steve, Braden, and Phil are all on voices.com and there's and John, and there's a audition for a male voice for a Coors Light commercial. Well, I mean, if I go, I turn up my nose, harumph, I would never stoop so low as to only take $3,000 in perpetuity for a Coors Light commercial.
I'll do it for some Coors Light.
I want residuals. And then there's somebody else on there who's pretty good. And they've got a $150 microphone and a PVC pipe booth with blankets, and so they sound good. And they go, and I was kind of looking at Steve, and I saw Steve's face like, that's right. Because I know Steve's sound is good. Because he sent his auditions he sent a couple of auditions into Chris McCann the other day, and Chris was like, yep, this guy sounds good. We're doing it. So Chris is not going to record a demo, so it sounds bad. So some guy who's pretty good, maybe he's got 4 years of college theater under his belt, and that hasn't ruined him totally. And he's pretty decent at voiceover, and he does what they need. And how good do you have to be really to do a Coors Light commercial? Is there a lot of acting in a Coors Light commercial? There's not a ton, right? There's some, but it's not like we're asking you to do some Meryl Streep level, dig deep and create a backstory and pull emotion out.
You got to act like Coors Light doesn't taste like shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. But that's okay. Pretend like
It's right out of my mouth.
you can pretend like it's Kool-Aid. I don't care. And you go, this is the best Kool-Aid I ever tasted. This is the best beer I ever tasted. See, it sounds exactly the same. Whatever. But whatever they're looking for, if you get the gig, then you got the gig. And I'm like, well, that'll teach Coors Light. They didn't get me. And Coors Light is like, who the heck are you? Whatever. So it's a really hard place to be in. And so I think that it can't help with today's connectivity and internet and the world getting more accessible. I think we're going to see a decline in rates over time. And
it seems like a lot of the bigger union talent already has sort of a reputation by name anyway. So it's sort of like locking in their higher rates for people you already know, where it's like super well-known voice actors like Jim Cummings or Rob Paulson or stuff like that.
Now, bear in mind, when we hire Jim Cummings, that is way, way above union scale. It's when you get Winnie the Pooh for the Christopher Robin movie, that's not on this little chart that I just showed you. Disney movie, main voice, Oscar-worthy performance. I would say, I know that, is it Hugo Weaving that played Megatron in Transformers? I think he got $250,000 for that, for a couple hours of work. Did all his lines. So that's definitely above the union scale.
It's more of those tiers where it's like, here are the big name voice actors, and then here are just the big name actors that people recognize. It's like, hey, we want to use your voice. All of a sudden you're dealing with an entirely different entity.
And those guys are really good. I mean, it's, Bradley Cooper plays Rocket Raccoon. Bradley Cooper's a phenomenal actor. And consequently is a phenomenal voice actor. Not all screen actors are phenomenal voice actors. You've never heard Tom Cruise voice anything. You've never heard Brad Pitt voice anything. Those are good on-camera actors, but not good. But Jason Bateman.
Hey. He was a shrimp in Happy Feet too.
Was he? Jason Bateman is a phenomenal voice actor. Zootopia. Oh my gosh. He was incredible in that. So, it is what it is. All right. We're rambling. Let's talk, unless you guys want to still talk about the union and the sick amount of money out there, the obscene amount of money. Let's talk about some previous lessons from VO Atlanta. And I was talking with my friend Cliff Zellman yesterday, and I was like, man, you're going to go to WovoCon in November? He's like, nah, I'm not going to Wovo. It's only like 70 or 80 people go, and I've been going to WovoCon for like 10 years, and so basically I would just be paying to go hang out with friends. I don't have anything to offer anybody there that they haven't already gotten. And I'm like, I don't want to go to a convention where there's 70 or 80 people, and it's the same people that came every single year, and I feel like the new guy at WovoCon. I don't want to do that, so I'm probably going to skip WovoCon. I'm probably just going to go to VO Atlanta next year. Okay. Where are we? VO Atlanta. I can't type. I'm trying to pull up my notes here. Atlanta. There we go. Y'all want to talk about the Disney casting? I threw that one out last week, and you guys wanted the e-learning first. But let's talk about Disney casting, because that's kind of fun and sexy, and it kind of bounces off what we were just talking about the union stuff. So the speaker at VO Atlanta 18 was Jen Trujillo. Wait, I'm taking Spanish classes. Let me try that again. Trujillo. Jen Trujillo. All right, it's Jennifer Trujillo. And she is a casting agent at Disney, not for the movies, but for TV. And on occasion, Sarah, I think you're with Tag Talent in Austin, right? I've gotten some Disney auditions.
Yes.
I've gotten some Disney auditions from Tag on occasion.
I've had a few kind of heavy hitting auditions from Tag. Nothing has come of it yet, but the fact that they're coming my way is kind of cool.
I've only booked one thing with Tag in like 3 years, but I got so many agents. I'm just hoping to kind of get one from any agent once a year would be great. And that's about what I'm hitting, maybe 2. We'll see. Braden, is that a question, or are you just shielding your face? What's up?
I've yet to get an agent and all that, just because all the shit that's been going on recently. But right before last week, we took a trip to Boston. I know I talked about that. But right before that, like the Monday before we left on Wednesday, I got a call for an on-camera audition for a Nickelodeon show. And I'm like, come on, really? Now of all times?
Where'd you get that from?
I did 9 acting, I think. It's a Dallas or a DFW acting agency.
Huh.
And I signed up to get emails and all that. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be in Boston doing a college tour. And she's like, oh my gosh, congratulations. Well, do you want to be on the roster for the next one? I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, please. That's not a question. What do you mean?
Share all that information with each other. So Jen Trujillo, one of, I think she said 3 casting agents there. So she said there's no pilot season at Disney. It's year-round. They're always making pilots, whereas in the rest of Hollywood, there's kind of a season where all the pilots come out. At any given time, there are about 1 each pilots going on for each of the 3 Disney channels, which is Disney Channel, Disney XD, and Disney Junior. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer, to create a pilot. And if you're not familiar with the term pilot, what we mean by pilot is the first episode of a show, the one where we decide whether the show is good or not, or whether we're going to keep making shows. So if you have your favorite show ever, there's probably like a pilot. Maybe it was only 30 minutes just to kind of say, did the public like this or not? 6 to 8 weeks. So when an audition comes out, and wait, I think I have this somewhere in my notes, but typically they only cast with LA agencies. How did I get the audition? Through TAG, which is in Austin, because TAG has an LA branch, mainly on camera. But regardless, TAG kind of has weaseled its way into, or wormed its way into, being an LA agency. When I was sitting in the session, I was sitting next to Sierra, who was my agent assistant at Houghton Talent in Atlanta. And when they said, we only use LA agencies, Sierra leaned over to me and said, we're going to try to change that. So we'll see. That was a year ago. So that was via Atlanta 18. So when an audition comes in, here's what they do. They cast for a role in a pilot. In the first round of castings, they get 200 to 1,200 reads per character. And there are 6 to 7 characters. And they are all self-tapes or agency tapes. There's nobody coming in and reading at Disney. And they listen to every single one of them. They don't listen to all of every single one of them, but they listen to every single one of them. At this stage, what they're looking for on the very first round of a Disney audition, variety, humor, and quality. So this is where your ad-libbing ability can come in, your ability to kind of read the script and say something funny, your comic timing. Also quality. Obviously, if you sound like doo-doo, then they're done with you. Like as soon as your read begins, they're done. But at least they listen to it. They'll narrow it down out of those 200 to 1,200 reads to 20 to 30. So out of 200 to 1,200 reads times 6 to 7 characters. All right, and I don't, 200 to 1,200 is a lot. Let's say there's 600 reads per character times 7 characters. 4,000 plus reads that they listen to, and they narrow it down to 20 or 30 per character. Those 20 to 30 people get callbacks in person in Burbank. So if you are in El Paso, Texas, you need to be ready to go to Burbank. You'll get notes back on your callback. And callback is where you go in and you audition in person, and then they say, do this, try this. And it's like a job interview. They want to see what you're like and see if they would like to work with you. They're looking for collaboration. They're looking for creativity, and they're looking for flexibility. Are you directable? If they say, do this, and you can't really do that, then they're like, yeah, this person's going to be hard to direct. After those callbacks, they'll have it narrowed down to probably the top 3. So from 200 to 1,200 reads, narrowed down to 20 to 30, narrowed down to 3. They take those 3 and try to sell them to the executives at Disney. They like new talent at Disney. That's good news for all of us because none of us have worked at Disney as a voice talent. So they like new talent. How they sell you to the executives is based on what you have to offer. And it could be one of these 4 things. Maybe you're experienced. So they go to the executives and they go, man, this person has done 8,000 animes. They are extremely directable. They know what they're doing. They've been doing voiceover for 20 years. Maybe you're new and exciting. They're like, man, this kid has got it all. He's like 24 years old. He's totally fresh. You should see him. He's got dreadlocks, whatever. He's totally hip. They probably won't. I don't know. They probably do say hip. It could be that you're promotable. Maybe you already have a following. This girl is a YouTube singing sensation. She's got 950,000 subscribers on YouTube, and she would be an awesome contribution. And you've seen that, right? You've seen people show up on Disney. And Justin Bieber started as a YouTube sensation. Now, you go ahead and make your face. The kid's got chops, man. That guy's good. A kid, I don't know. He's probably 35 now. Anyway, what's sad is somebody in here knows how old he is and when his birthday is.
His birthday, I actually don't know. I just know he's like mid-20.
I saw B reaching for the keyboard, and I thought she was going to unmute and say September 19th. He's going to be 31. Or they could sell that you're good at comedy and plussing up the material. You're a good ad-libber. You've got great comic timing, and maybe that's you. So if you're not an ad-libber, if you're not a plus-upper, then, maybe they'll sell something else about you. But they're looking for, this is a high-level audition. It's like auditioning for Saturday Night Live. You've got to be, top of your game coming in there for that. If you get the gig, the recording session is done one at a time, not all at once. So all these things you see of, 8 voice actors in a room all recording at once doesn't really happen at Disney. It's too hard to get everybody in there all at once. So for the testing, for the pilot, they make an 11-minute animatic, an 11-minute show, or sometimes they make a 3-minute next time on whatever show this is going to be. Then they test it, and hopefully it passes. And if it doesn't, they recast it, and they start over, 200 to 1,200 reads per character. Here were Jen's tips and tricks. Number 1, audio quality matters a lot. And it makes sense, right? Because there's too many people to choose from. It doesn't matter if you're the best actor they ever heard. It's really hard to tell because you're kind of saying, where are they in their bathroom? Do they do this in their car? Is that a police siren in the background? Was that a dog? Or, golly, their mouth sounds, all that stuff. So why would they? When there's 200 to 1,200 reads for that character, and they're all from LA agencies. So these are not slouches. This is not a voices.com wave of auditions. These are all quality people. Make bold choices, she said, different than everyone else. I'm on board with that. I don't always do it. I don't always remember to do it, but I had a coach one time say, you need to deliver that first line like somebody just asked you a question and that first line is an answer to it. And I thought that's pretty cool because that definitely comes out differently. So like if make bold choices is your first line and you were tempted to go make bold choices. What if somebody had just said, hey, what's the secret to getting ahead in your life? And you said, make bold choices. That's a whole different way to say it, right? I don't know that that's the way I would lead with it, but that's what I mean by do something a little different. If you're doing a character voice, go nuts with it. It's do something that, if it's a little bird, right? And he's like a little bird, but he's got big man syndrome. And so you're like, he's got this attitude and he's like this. Well, give him some sort of crazy voice on top of that. Make him Southern. Make him, or whatever. And I'm always doing male examples. I'm sorry, girls. She said, do 2 takes, a weird one, then a normal one. And for Disney, say 2 takes in the slate. So at the beginning of your audition, whether you say your name or not, you say 2 takes. And then you do your weird one, hello, everybody. And then you do your normal one, hello, everybody. Whatever. Or, show a variety of emotions. even if the audition is angry, there are different kinds of angry. So show that variety in your acting. And set the scene. So in what you're saying and how you're saying it should set the scene. We should be able to tell what's going on just by how you sound and what you're doing. Who are you talking to? Make it up if necessary. If they don't give you enough of the script, you got to have somebody you're talking to. Don't forget to pretend like there's somebody you're talking to. And I can just picture the auditions where it doesn't sound like you're talking to somebody. It reminds me of that audition that we got that I put up on the page, the reel that I put up on the demo reel that I put up in our Facebook group the other day of that guy that did the commercial with me. I felt like he wasn't imagining he was talking to anybody in any of those lines. He was just saying the words, you know? He was trying to make the words pretty instead of making his character pretty. Is it a lead role? If it is a lead role, you need to keep it likable throughout and not annoying. Sometimes less is more. For example, if the character has braces or some sort of effects, or maybe the specs say this is nasally, less is more on that usually. If they've got braces and you've made them talk so bad like classes, nobody can understand it. So maybe just a little bit of a braces. I don't know. Maybe stick a cotton ball in your mouth there, and I don't know. Or if they're nasally, this is nasally. So is this, but this may not be what they're looking for. It may be that they just want, whenever I see nasally, I do this with my glasses and I get started. Actually, highs and lows. They want your go up and down with your read. That takes some practice. That doesn't mean just go up, just go down. Melanie, what I said about the leading role was don't make it annoying. You want the lead in every Disney show is likable. Nope, there's never a show where the lead is not likable. They're likable no matter what, even if they have their flaws, right? Because they're the lead. Nobody's going to tune into the show again if they're not likable. They want highs and lows. So you got to dig for meaning in your script so you can vary those highs and lows. And what I mean by that is your inflection. Okay, you want it to sound normal, but maybe a little more exaggerated than normal, so you can do that. But don't just go up and go down and go up and go down as you talk, and then you don't have any reason why you're going to, like Christopher Walken. Sometimes he just goes up for no reason, and then goes down. It's like, oh, wow. For your tone of your audition, Disney and Disney XD are similar, more grown up, big kid, 6th grade. Sense of humor. You could kind of make jokes. I used to be a middle school teacher. It was fun. I could joke with those kids, especially the smart ones. Disney Junior is for ages 3 through 5. They're big and cartoony. Okay, it's not so much sense of humor. It's that everything you say is funny because we've written it to be funny for a 3-year-old, right? You know what's hilarious to a 3-year-old to 5-year-old? The word underwear, right? That's the level of humor we're at right there. My mother was a kindergarten teacher, and she would read the book Thomas's Snowsuit. Does anybody know this story? Wonderful story. It's about Thomas, and Thomas didn't want to wear his snowsuit. This is obviously not set in the South. And Braden, you remember the book?
No, I said it's about Thomas and his snowsuit.
Yeah, it's called Thomas's Snowsuit. Well, and the mother says, Thomas, put on your snowsuit. And Thomas says, no. And finally, the mother gets they wrestle, and Thomas gets his snowsuit. So they're at school. They're trying to go out to recess, and the teacher says, Thomas, put on your snowsuit. He's like, no. Well, sooner or later, Thomas and the teacher get in a wrestling match, and the next thing you know, they're both in their underwear. Kindergartners cannot pull it together after the word underwear. That is the funniest word ever. So you're on that level of humor on Disney Junior, okay? I don't know if they do farts on Disney Junior, but that level of humor, well, see, some of it, Melanie's already laughing. So, Melanie, I think you're perfect for Disney Junior. You're already laughing at farts and underwear. So just remember that's where we are. If you know any 3 to 5-year-olds, like here's a great joke. You say to a 4-year-old, hey, say pink. And they go pink, and you say, you stink. Hilarious. They think that is the funniest thing ever. So that's where we're at on that. And then the last thing Jen said was improv is not 100% necessary, but if you can do it, it can set you apart. And improv doesn't have to be extra lines, although it can be, but it can be sounds, laughs, dialogues, or little buttons. And a button is just kind of something you tag onto the end of the script like, you know, or if you watched if you watched the video of Bob Bergen, the voice of Porky Pig, recording his commercial demo with Chuck Duran, he threw in a little improv on the McDonald's thing where he's like, all right, son, here are the rules for McDonald's French fries. Number one, always share with dad. You know, he kind of had that, and then under his breath. That little clearing of the throat, nice. The script probably said, number one, always share with dad. Right? So that was Bob Bergen able to take that and be pretty slick with it. And so how do you get that? You take improv classes. Laughs, you know, just because a script says ha, 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 doesn't mean you have to do 3 of them. You could go and then go into it. Or you could, you know, whatever. There's tons. Dialogue is actual words that you could stick in on that. And I do that sometimes, especially if I don't think the script is right for me. You know, it may be right for whoever they were envisioning, but if I want it to sound, Steve Ross says, Richard Horvitz gets quite a few roles based on weird, non-scripted noises. Yeah, I met him at LA Comic Con last year, and I thought it was really cool because I don't know him from voiceover, but I know him from, there was a show we watched in high school called Head of the Class, and he was a character in that. And I think he was in the movie Summer School. And so with Mark Harmon. So I remember him as always playing the high school nerd back then in the 80s. He's probably, you know, 10 years older than I am. So when he was 24, he was getting cast as a high school student. You know, that's how it works in LA. Anyway, that's Disney casting in a nutshell from Jen Trujillo. Now, how many of you are getting a Disney audition next week? Not many, but how much of that is useful everywhere else? A lot. I think that it's cool to kind of see how they're making that thing. And even if I'm not auditioning for Disney, it helps me understand how other people are making things and what they're going through. And then the tips and tricks on how to be a good voice actor are still good stuff. Okay, let's, I'm going to share great quotes with you. I wrote down 3 great quotes at VO Atlanta 18. Ellie Ray, who's a big animation person. Sarah, I think Ellie Ray presented at VO Atlanta this year.
It was probably an X session.
I couldn't stomach much of Ellie Ray. I don't know if you've noticed this about me. I'm not an actor. Okay? I'm trying to become one, but I didn't major in theater. I didn't do theater in high school. I'm not one of those people. No offense if you're one of those people. But I got a theory. I'm going to share a social theory with you. You know, okay, I'm going to tell you what these people are like, and you know who I'm talking about. People who burst into acting mid-conversation. You know, see, Steve, you're already offended by this. You know who it is. They're talking to you, and then they blah, 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 and you're like, what's wrong with you? Settle down. Be a normal person. All right? So here's my theory. Everybody knows the theater crowd in high school is socially a bit different. And in that theater crowd, there's a wide range. There's some people who can, all right, I'm just being ugly. They could pass for normal, and there's some people who in a million years cannot. They are all about it. They are leaving high school to go make their way as an actor. And then there's other people who are good at it, and they did their thing, and maybe they're going to be an actor, and maybe they weren't. And so I'm not trying to offend anybody. This is coming from a non-actor. I was in the band, so I wasn't cool either, okay? So I'm not and JROTC at my high school was only for the kids who weren't cool enough to be in the band. So, I mean, I was down on that end, and then I joined the National Guard. So Ellie Ray was one of the. So my theory is this: there are those people who burst into acting on a moment's notice, and then they go out, but they're so socially inept from being so immersed in enjoying and embracing their weirdness. And then they go to the theater department at their university, which is a weird place. University of Mississippi, like most people I know can't go see a play because they're all so off the deep end and adult themed. And so they're all in that world. So then they head out to New York and they don't know how to portray a normal person because they've been.
Steve?
You know what I mean? Steve. What did he do? Steve, you all right?
Oh, did you just throw your camera?
He did throw his camera.
Goodness. But
Maybe your dog is concerned. Sorry.
I know.
All right.
I know.
I think he turned green for a second.
So
But that does make sense.
my theory is that those actors go out and some of them can adapt to the world and become normal functioning, and they can play normal people. Chuck Huber is an example of a person who's been an actor all along, but is a normal person. But on occasion, a weirdo. I'm just going to say the weirdos. The theater weirdos, the nut jobs, succeed. And they stay nutty until they're 80. They're just nutty all the way. Ellie Ray is that person. Like, she's walking around VO Atlanta with like pigtails with like 15 different colored things in them, and she's hello, I'm Ellie Ray, and it's really cool. And I know she's good at acting, and I want to learn from her. So I go to her session, and in the first few minutes, I wrote this down. What's the only reason you ever open your mouth as a voice actor? And it was so fun because people are just trying to, everybody wants to answer the question and be on Ellie Ray's good side. Everybody wants to be the teacher's pet. So I'm going to let you guys answer. What do you think is the only reason you ever open your mouth as a voice actor?
Get benefits from SAG-AFTRA.
That's what I was thinking, but that's not correct. Yeah, the money. No, it's not the money. Why?
To talk.
Yeah, okay, but why? Why do you talk as a voice actor? Why?
To get stuff off your chest and live a life that you couldn't live because you were outcast younger. I'm just talking about myself here.
To throw something out in the world that might resonate or stick with somebody else.
All that is fine. Here's the answer. Your audience.
Because it's dangerous to put macadamia nuts in your nose.
The answer is your audience. They are the only reason ever that you open your mouth as a voice actor. And that's pretty profound. You realize there's somebody listening, and they're who it's all about. Boom. I was like, bang, throat punch from Ellie Ray. About 5 minutes later, she was just so wild and off the wall, though, I had to leave the session. So I couldn't stand it anymore. But I thought, that's brilliant. So I really would like to get more from her, but my first voiceover coach was like that too. She would talk and talk, and then she would go, blah, 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 blah. She'd break into a Russian accent, and I'd be like, we're not even talking about Russian. What? Anyway, here's a great quote from Dave Fennoy. I think I've shared this quote with you already. Dave Fennoy is a big video game voice actor, won a big award for his part in Walking Dead, and he is just an LA giant. This is a guy who he doesn't audition. They just call him, and they say, Dave, come in. He says, don't make your words precious, make your character precious. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the guy's demo, where he's really focused on trying to make those words sound good when really he needs to work on making his character sound good. The words come. And then lastly, David Tyler, who's a huge radio imaging guy in Canada. Be a voice. Don't be an echo. What he meant by that was don't imitate. Be you. That was pretty cool. Now, that said, let me share with you guys what David Tyler shared. I went to his session on radio imaging. And I still haven't done much with radio imaging, but I'm fascinated with radio imaging, and some of you should be too. Radio imaging is one of the few things where you can just get on retainer in voiceover. I think I've talked to you about this. A radio station will say, we would like to pay you $200 a month, every month, on the first of the month, and sometime during that month, we will send you up to 2 pages of stuff to read. Some months it'll be no pages. Some months it'll be 1 page. And by 2 pages, we mean every other line, double-spaced, one-liners that say things like, all country, all the time, 93.3. Get ready for an all-country weekend on Country Stars 91. So it's that, 2 pages of that. There's not 2 pages of lengthy legal narrations. It's $200 a month. Sometimes they send it, sometimes they don't, but they send you $200 a month every month. Maybe 300, maybe 100. Big station, maybe 800. They send that money every month. And these radio imaging voice actors get on with 10, 20, 30 radio stations. So at the beginning of the month, there's thousands of dollars that just show up on the first. Boom, every month. You know it's coming. You can budget for it. Incredible. I'm like, what? That's insane. And a lot of times they don't send you a page. They don't need one that month, but they still send you the money. That's called being on retainer. So here's David Tyler. Radio imaging is one-liners, and it is the overall sound of the station. So as a voice actor, and I'll say it down here later, but it's like throw away everything you ever learned about radio and go to acting class. That's kind of the advice on radio imaging, because those little one-liners convey the entire feel of the radio station. And we're going to get to the feels in a minute. So radio imaging is image advertising. The station is advertising its entire image through those one-liners. Radio imaging is what's inside. If you tune to the station and hear the imaging voiceover, that's telling you what's inside the station. It's what you can expect of the station. So be a voice, don't be an echo. So David studied with a guy named Nick Michaels, who's big in imaging, and Nick Michaels says, these are the undertones for imaging at different genres of radio stations. You're going to be fascinated. Now when you listen, you'll never listen to radio the same again. You've got to understand these. So if you're listening to an all-news station and you're the imaging voice, everything you say should have the undertone of, now I know. In other words, I'm listening to the station, and now I know. It's an all-news station. Now I know. Doesn't matter if it's Fox News. Doesn't matter if it's CNN News. Now I know because I listen to the station. If it's talk radio, wasn't I right? Right? Wasn't I right? I told you. That's the feel of everything you say. So you say, Rush Limbaugh, 5 a.m. In the back of my mind, I'm saying, wasn't I right? Right? That's what we're saying there. Rachel Maddow, 6 p.m. every day. I'm just nodding like, suckers, I was right. Country. And I'm assuming this is modern country, not classic. Share the feeling. You know how modern country music kind of panders and to the audience, and we're talking about, it seems like every song nowadays has to talk about how country it is. You know, it's like, let's mention dirt roads and cold beer on a Friday night, hot girls in tight jeans, you know, pyramid of cans on my tailgate, you know, blah, blah, blah. Share the feeling. But all of that is making us feel good about good times with friends. Share the feeling. So it's all country, all weekend long. You got to smile when you say it. You got to feel that in there. Adult contemporary. And I don't know what that means. I guess 80s. What's adult contemporary? Is it anyway? Time for Me, which tells me that soccer moms are listening to adult contemporary. Just drop the kids off. You're in the morning traffic on the way back home. Time for Me. Andy, you hurt my feelings at the thought of country. Melanie, what are you laughing at? She is on a tear.
She's laughing about.
Y'all are cracking me up. No, everything tonight has just been so funny. Oh my God.
The first time I taught this class, which was a year ago, it took me like a month before they told me they had a what's that game that they play that's kind of off color? Oh geez, they were playing it on Discord in the background. Like 5 or 6 of them were on Discord, and they had a game going, which I thought.
No, there's nothing else going on. It's just this.
Well, and I was like, it's funny. I mean, you're paying for this lesson, and you're back to your not Words with Friends. What's that game? Cards Against Humanity. They were all playing Cards Against Humanity on a Discord server while they were in class.
Why aren't we doing that?
Well, I'm like, why don't y'all do that?
Because I'm not home.
Yeah, we could do that after
class. You're paying for this. So, and then classic rock is Take Me There. Right? Because classic rock, we're talking Leonard Skinner, we're talking the Eagles, we're talking AC/DC, and that's memories that 40 and 50-year-old people have from college. So when I think AC/DC, I think of this bar I used to go to when I was at LSU in 1989. I don't remember much about LSU, but I remember AC/DC. And so Take Me There, take me back to good friends in a Jeep, going out to Sports Illustrated. That was the name of the bar for $1 well drinks. You know, no, it was Beat the Clock. That's what it was. The drink special was Beat the Clock. If you got there at 4 p.m., drinks were $0.25. At 5 p.m., they were 50 cents. At 6 p.m., they were 75 cents. At 7 p.m., they were $1, and they went all the way up to like $2. So people just got there and ordered like a tray of, you know, what name your drink. I don't even know. Kamikazes, I think, is what my friends would always get. And you drop $5 and get like 20 drinks. And they were little, but I mean, people were just stupid drunk. And that's what I remember of college. So Take Me There. Good times, right? Throwing up on the sidewalk, you know, somebody driving us drunk back to the cafeteria so we could all eat a bunch of food and then head back to Beat the Clock, you know, all that. Good times. I don't condone driving drunk or drinking at all. So classic rock is Take Me There. So the quote was, forget everything you learned in radio and go to acting school. Know your audience. So who listens to this station? if you listen to Christian radio, there's a couple of different kinds of Christian radio. Seems like everywhere I go, there's K-Love. K-Love caters to the soccer moms. They're the ones that donate because K-Love is listener supported. It's why you hear the same stinking song over and over again on K-Love, over and over and over again. Same bands, Mercy Me, Toby Mac, Newsboys, over and over again. It doesn't matter how good they are. No skillet on K-Love.
That bothers me so much.
Except for that one song from Skillet that was in the movie The Shack, but it's pretty much
Yeah, stars.
But then you go through Birmingham, Alabama, and there's WDJC, and they're playing some Skillet, man. They're playing some kicking Christian music. You're like, what is this? I feel like a kid who's eating cake for the first time when they're 4 years old and feel like they've been robbed for 4 years, right? That's what I feel like when I go, what? This is awesome. Who wrote this song?
Is
right?
that the feeling for that particular Christian radio?
That's the feeling, right?
I got the cake.
We're young people. We're rocking out for the Lord. That's the contemporary Christian station, right? Do this when you read it. Yeah, right? All right. Rocking out for the Lord on WDJC 93.3, Birmingham. Yeah. I don't know if that's the feel, but sometimes you can ask. So there are 3 ways to get hired in radio imaging. One is your demo. By the way, you need a separate demo for each of these genres of imaging. So don't do it, right? So that's why I kind of experimented with a cheap demo. I'm not crazy about it. I may end up paying for a more expensive one. But I have where is it? I got one. You guys want to hear my radio imaging demo? I'm not crazy about it anymore, but I only paid like $150 for it. And I went back and forth with this guy and made him do a lot more with it. Let's see. Video game, narration, e-learning, radio imaging. Here we go. And I did country because I did research, and there are more country stations than any other station in the country, by far. Like 3 times more than the second place a radio station. So I thought, I don't care. Let's do country.
Get ready for country like you've never heard before. Here at 101.5 Cruise Radio.
Oh, snap. Look what time it is.
Counting down today's country hits. What do we got here? This is the Country Countdown.
I listen when I'm driving to work.
On my way to work.
And when I'm going home. Nonstop.
Country Countdown. On Veterans Day and every day, Kiss Country honors our veterans. Thank you for your service. If you can't hang with the big dogs, stay off the porch.
What? What are you even talking about?
This ain't your daddy's country music. This is Big Dog Country.
Okay, here we go.
Now. Yeah. This is the new generation of country. You're on Greatest Hits Radio, playing the best country of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Really? That's amazing.
This is my country 94.5. All the best country music from around the world. This is Radio Italy.
All right, there you go. Yay. Steve, you having fun with that?
You broke Steve.
All right.
Congrats.
I apologize for laughing through most of that. I was laughing at Steve's reaction to everything.
I kind of work, dude. I listen to it. It sounds a little flat now, you know. The dude had a lot of, there was like 15 seconds at one point of not me. Other radio zingers and jingers and stuff. This dude was over in Africa, but he was doing some spots for some company in England. Anyway, I mean, it's okay. I've sent it out. I've had a couple stations say, yeah, it's fine. I'd like to hear a little less effects on your voice for some of these. One person was like, your voice sounds great. I'd like to see better acting. I'm like, that's where a coach in your demo production comes in. It would be nice to pay $1,500 and have somebody say, no, say it this way. No. Give me a little more smile in that or whatever. But, you know, I'm recording these things at home and mailing them over to Ezjamadi in Nigeria, I think was what country he was in. Anyway, I'm okay with it. I paid $150 for it, so all good. So 3 ways to get hired in imaging. One is a demo. One is by reputation or recommendation. So once you've started doing some imaging, then people say, hey, our imaging guy or our imaging girl is great. Use her. I say girl. There's a girl that does the imaging on K-Love. I can't stand her because her short E's are like the most harsh Midwestern E's. K-Love all weekend. I'm like, weekend? It's not and, it's end. Weekend. End. Not end. That's how we say it in Mississippi. End. And all weekend. I can't stand it. Anyway. And then another's by an agent. There are agents who specialize in radio imaging. There's a website called Benztown, B-E-N-Z, like Mercedes-Benz. Benztown, if you want to learn more about radio imaging, they have a huge roster of radio imaging talent, and you can go here and see who some of the big dogs are. So does Mixed Talent. So there's Benztown and there's Mixed Talent. To get work without an agent, and this is what David Tyler, who pretty much does only radio imaging, advertise on radio websites. So there are radio websites where you can buy ads. There are trade magazines that you can get yourself in. Google search ads. Make sure that you are, spend some money to rank yourself higher in Google search ads. Create content. Write blogs. Make YouTube videos. And that's true of marketing in anywhere. If you are a person and you post those articles on LinkedIn, you post those articles in places, and you establish a name for yourself as someone who knows what they're talking about radio imaging. And then there is always direct mailing, which still works. I have not done a direct mailing in like 4 years, and I'm stupid. Why have I not? The first one I did paid for itself many times over. I mailed out 400 or 500 postcards. One person has hired me. I don't know. He hired me just recently for like the 10th time. So totally paid for that $400 worth of postcards. David Tyler offers monthly coaching for free. The website is myvoiceovercoach.com/office hours. So he basically has office hours monthly, once a month, and you can tune in, and I don't know, maybe it's Zoom, maybe it's something like that.
Can you repeat that website?
myvoiceovercoach.com/office hours. I'm going to copy it right now.
Why free? Does he say?
He likes to give back to the community. And I imagine if you like what he's got to offer, you would probably want to pay for him.
Yeah, okay.
Copy. I'm going to go to our Facebook group right now and post it in there. If I can find our Facebook group, Business of VO4. Here we go. I'm just going to paste it without comment. There you go. It's there for everybody. All right. The imaging audition. In your audition for an imaging gig, if you ever get one, you should do 5 or 6 takes as opposed to the normal 2 or 3 for longer things. But remember that they're one-liners. So multiple takes, 5 or 6, each with a different attitude. You can drop some down to a whisper. And ad-libs are okay on some of them. Okay. So if the line is, "This ain't your daddy's country music," then maybe there's another way to say. And what we're saying there is that this is modern country music, right? This is Brett Young. This ain't Hank Williams, which in my mind, I don't even want to listen to that station. I'm not even auditioning. I feel that way, the way union actors feel about non-union. I think that station should be wiped off the face of the earth. Anyway, if I were a dictator, they'd be the first to go. Luke Bryan. Okay, so where was I going with this? So ad libs. So if the line is, "This ain't your daddy's country music," you might say, I don't know what you would say. That's a pretty good line. I don't know that you would. Okay. I don't know. Steve is having a hi-ho time here. Anyway.
You could add like a sound or something. I was thinking like
you
this
might
ain't your daddy's music or whatever.
This ain't your daddy's country music, or "This ain't your daddy's country music." Something like that. So nope, no sir.
This ain't your daddy's country music.
Oh snap! It ain't your daddy's country music. Hell no.
There's nobody next door because I've punched the wall twice now.
Oh hell no. Okay. So where did I go? I lost it. So different attitudes, whispers, ad libs. Okay. So a lot of them do retainer. This is where he talked about the money. A large market. Once you've established as a radio imaging voice actor and you are the man or the woman, large market, let's say New York City, $1,200 a month retainer is what you can expect from a large radio station. And the first of the month, they send you $1,200 for a couple of pages. Medium market, maybe $800, small market, $400, unrated market, $200. That's kind of where I'm from. Oxford, Mississippi, Bullseye 105.5 is an unrated market. Actually, they're kind of a talk network of radios. David Tyler has a contract that he will share. So when you finally do get a bite on an email, he's got a contract already written up. And if you go to myvoiceovercoach.com, you can get in touch with him and say, hey, man, send me your contract. Per page. Some radio stations would rather hire you per page. Maybe they'll just hire you today, one page, $250 per page, double spaced, 12 point, Times New Roman, 1-inch margin. So you don't say $250 per page and they send you a page chock full of 8-point font, margin to margin. And you just have to figure out where the spaces are. $250 per page, double spaced, 12 point, Times New Roman, 1-inch margin. Just like a college paper. You can decide. That's not the rule. You can just decide what that is. So $250 per page. A small local market might pay you $200 per month for 2 pages, which is a little bit cheaper. But if they want you just one time, $250 per page, so it's more expensive. The contract should indicate the market size, the length of the contract. So if they want you for a year, then they can use you for a year. How often they can use you, once or twice per week, is normal. They are paying not for your labor. Go ahead and get this through your mind for all genres of voiceover. They are paying you not for your labor, but for the right to use your voice. There's not much labor involved in All Hits All the Time, 93.3 Country. That's it. They're paying for the right to use your voice. They lose this right when that contract ends. So if they have a contract for a year, and on the 367th day you tune in and there's your voice, that's not okay. It's time for a new contract. Here's how it works. Initially, when you get hired, a lot of times this happens when a new program director gets hired and they want to establish a new feel for the radio station. They're like, man, that old dude was driving this radio station into the ground. I am here. This is a new, fresh 105.5. We are taking this. We are going to be the best station in the South. They'll send you and they'll hire a new voice actor to kind of be their new voice, their imaging voice. They'll send you a startup package. And the startup package is a little bit bigger, but there's daily and weekly and monthly scripts in that. Okay. They typically want a 24-hour turnaround. They want multiple takes. And don't forget to remember the station's personality as you read these things. Who writes the copy at radio stations? Lots of people. He couldn't narrow it down to any particular person. Sometimes it's the DJ. Sometimes it's the program director. Sometimes it's the general manager. He had a quote, get them to lean in and you win. I guess that meant when you do a read, they go, huh, and they lean in to see. My wife keeps texting me that what kind of food she wants. So in about 30 minutes, I think we have to go get some food. We're eating healthy and working out now. So now she's texting me things like, I need a cheeseburger. I mean, it's brutal when you first start eating healthy. You have a smoothie with beets in it. Okay. 12 tips from radio pros. And this is all that David gave us on it. Number 1, pre-read and understand the copy. Radio imaging is not stuff that you read on the fly. Pre-read it and understand it before you read it. That really goes for everything except maybe e-learning when they give you 19 pages and you just have to go. Number 2, break up the copy. Break it into manageable chunks that you can. It's okay. The radio station can edit things. You can say, if you can't hang with the big dogs, and then stay off the porch if you want to. Multiple reads, 3 to 5. Leave your outtakes in. Radio stations tend to like those. I mean, if you have excessive outtakes, then don't leave those in. Outtakes are your bloopers. If you're like, all hits, geez, Louise, whatever, and you can't, leave those in. Meet deadlines. They want a 24-hour turnaround. Meet the deadline. Don't be late. Versatility is the key. They want you to be able to deliver all these different lines and these different ways and different personalities. Be available by phone and be available by Source Connect. We talked about Source Connect earlier in the class. That's easy, though. If you have Chrome, all you got to do is pay for Source Connect and you have it. So don't stress out about, I need Source Connect. You can tell anybody you want you're available by Source Connect. Just be ready to spend $100 to get it. Braden.
My question was going to be, how much is Source Connect?
I don't know. Let's go to their website real quick. Source Connect now is free, but the person on the other end has to have it. Source Elements, Source Connect. Products overview. It is, well, I don't know, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Solutions, users, products, news, purchase. Here we go. Buy software and services. Here we go. Well, that's not helpful. Upgrades, services. I don't know. Looks like their certification $75. I don't know. Source Connect subscriptions. Here we go. $35 for standard. There you go. $35 a month, I guess. It's not awful. It's doable. So be available by phone and by Source Connect. Number 8, know how to pronounce names. That's true of all genres of voiceover too. But don't let them send you something with some bizarre city name from Minnesota and you just wing it and hope you got it right. I'm going to type the name of my hometown in the chat.
Not even going to attempt.
Right. So when you get
nowhere
and it says KDBH, that town's #1 country station. And that is our #1 country station in Natchitoches, Louisiana. You got to know how to say Natchitoches, right? KDBH, Natchitoches' #1 country station. Except I don't want to pluralize or I don't want to possessivize Natchitoches. The #1 country station in Natchitoches, right? And there's Louisiana's chock full of towns like that. Atchafalaya, right? What else they got? Thibodaux. I mean, I can't even. There's a town up North Louisiana that's spelled Hebert, and it's pronounced Hebert. It ought to be Hebert. It's Louisiana, like Bobby Hebert's last name. It's Hebert. So, and you can probably think of several towns near you that have an odd way of saying. There's plenty of Indian names and French names and Spanish names that have been Americanized. And yeah, right outside Baton Rouge is Gonzales, Louisiana. Gonzales, that's right. My dad lives in Lafayette, Louisiana. I live in Lafayette County, Mississippi, and that is not far from Lafayette, Indiana. So those are all the same word. So know how to pronounce them. Kostanjik.
Bless you.
That's B's maiden name. How do you say it?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Kostanchek.
Oh, it's close. Right.
Yeah. Kostanchek is the foreign way of saying it. Kind of like the foreign way of actually saying my name is Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I just go by B. I don't like
a chain of department stores, like a Kostanchek.
But it's very important. Make sure you know how to pronounce these names. Look them up. There's lots of websites that say how to pronounce Minnesota town names, that kind of stuff. So find them. Don't imitate. If you're trying to be a radio imaging voice and you're just copying off somebody else, then why don't they just hire that person? Keep your mic natural. Don't do a lot of effects. They'll do that. Know who holds the keys at the radio station and keep them happy. There may be 5 people listening to you, and there may be a lot of people who want to try new things and all that. Know who holds the keys. Who's the one who really? And if somebody comes on and says, "Hey, try this," you can say, "You know what? Let's go with what Melanie says because she's the GM, right? She's the one." And then make your producer's life easy. And I have a business philosophy that I read not too long ago that fits in with that, and that's this. The answer is yes. What was your question? Make your producer's life easy. Hey, can you do this? Yes, I can. Right? Here's a business lesson from Andy Field. So the story the guy wrote was he was at a restaurant with his kid, and his kid said, "I would like a milkshake." And so the guy said to the waiter, "We'd like a milkshake." And the waiter says, "We don't have milkshakes." He said, "Well, you have ice cream and you have milk. You guys have a blender?" And they were like, "Yes, go make us a milkshake." Right? And the guy was like, "No." He called the manager out. He's like, "We'd like a milkshake." And the guy's like, "I don't even know what to charge." He says, "Make something up. We're going to buy a milkshake from you today." Right? My mother-in-law is the same way. She's like, "I like a baked potato." They're like, "We don't have baked potatoes." She's like, "Do you have a potato?" They're like, "Yeah." "Do you have an oven?" Because I assume there's a kitchen. "Go bake us a potato. I want a baked potato." In other words, your answer is yes. What's the question? Right? Can I have a milkshake? Yes, absolutely you can. How much are they? I don't know. I'm going to go look it up. But yes, you can have a milkshake, right? You know, so B, can you have $1 million? Yes, you can. You're going to have to earn it though. But I'm helping you. I'm getting you there. So make your producer's life easy. The answer is yes. What's the question? If they need you to go back and do a second take, go back and do your second take. That's making the producer's life easy. All right. I got 9:09 Mountain Time. Did I give you guys what you could do now so they remember you later? I think this one's gonna. Okay, so in the next coming week or so, we're gonna talk about marketing and reaching out and all that. And some of that, you're gonna have to take your imagination and apply it to some of that, and take your own personality and apply it to some of that. This was VO Atlanta 18, and the lesson was, what can you do now so they remember you later? 30 one-liners from David Goldberg to leave a lasting impression with clients. David Goldberg is the CEO of Edge Studios. And while Edge is a little iffy, David's smart. David runs a pretty big business, and he gets a lot of auditions, and he gets a lot of voice casting. And so the idea is that when you send someone, if you're email marketing and you say, hi, I'm Jenny Sherrard, I'm a voice actor. I specialize in, you fill in the blank of whatever it is that they do. I specialize in automotive commercials, because that's who, I specialize in animation. Hey, I specialize in e-learning. You specialize in all of those, okay? Every email you send, you specialize in whatever they do. But you send that demo out, and it is 0% of the time that someone opens your email and goes, oh, I was totally looking for somebody right now at this moment that sounds just like you. You're hired. Never. Okay, it happens on rare. If you send out 10,000 emails, it will happen. But most of the time, you want them to remember you 30 days later when they are looking for. I mean, a lot of times you're emailing somebody who doesn't even hire voice talent, but once every few months anyway. Maybe it's some guy that owns a karate dojo, and he makes his own little TV commercials, but he only makes a new one every few months for YouTube or for Facebook, right? So if you say, hey, I'm a voice actor, I specialize in karate dojo commercials, and he goes, oh, cool. 3 months later, he's not going to remember you. He's not even going to find you in his email inbox. So how can you stand out so that they remember you later? And these are 30 things, and David even told us ahead of time, some of these you may agree with, some of these you may not. I'm just giving them to you. You can have these. You could tell the client that you will not accept payment from them until they've been paid by their client. And what he said was, at Edge Studios, we always at any time, because clients hire Edge Studios to cast the voice talent. He said, at any given time, we've got tens of thousands of dollars tied up where a client is going to pay us some money, but they haven't paid us yet. But we go ahead and pay the voice talent within 30 days. But we may not get money from the client for 60 to 90 days. He said, so we're paying the voice talent out of our pocket, and then we kind of reimburse when the client pays us. So you could tell them, especially a small advertising firm, I won't accept payment from you until you've been paid by your client. Because maybe they're struggling with paying their voice actors. Maybe some voice actors repeatedly send them invoices every day. Like, hey, here's a reminder. Hey, here's a reminder. You owe me money. You owe me money. And you'll be like, hey, whenever your client pays you, that's when you can pay me. Tell them you will lower your price for volume. I kind of do that anyway. I don't necessarily announce it up front. But you may want to say that up front. Hey, you're an e-learning producer. My rate is 20 cents a word, but I'm willing to lower that for volume. That may work, especially if they have plans in the next year to launch something with a lot of volume. I had no idea when I started with this law school study guide that they were going to load me down like they load. I've got 7 narrations due tonight after I get off with you guys. I mean, they're killing me. You will provide free recordings for nonprofits. Whether they ever use you for that or not doesn't mean that they won't remember you for having said it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I actually offer that.
Yeah, it's great. Or you can do free recordings for emergency situations like like public service announcements or whatever. You could tell them every 10th job is free. I kind of like that one. And there were people in the room that went, what? No. And he's like, okay, so you got a new client, and you're willing to do a job for, let's say, $250, $300. For you to do a 10th job for free means they have to have hired you 9 times. Let's say it's a $250 job. That's $2,500 for 10 jobs. You willing to give them a $250 discount, give them the 10th job for free? Do that for $22.50? Heck yeah, you are. But that's the thing. If you say every 10th job is free, they may not hire you 10 times, but they may remember you for having said that because that's weird. Tell them you will promote them on your own social media. That may be valuable if they're a little small town advertising agency. They've got 200 followers on Facebook and you've got, 900 Twitter followers or whatever, or maybe you've got a YouTube channel with 20,000 subscribers. I had a student in my class before. I think she just broke 200,000 YouTube subscribers. She took my class. She took it twice. I lost it. You will put a link on your website that leads to theirs. I'm not going to do that, but you may want to tell them that you'll do that. You will read their auditions forwards and backwards. And I typed, okay, ... Like everybody in the room was like, what? And somebody's like, David, David, why? He says, because it's weird. And they'll remember it. I said, okay. I'm not going to say that, but I can see that. You will read their auditions forwards and backwards. Backwards and forwards auditions, there read, will you? Okay. You will research any client they hire you for and share the information with them. So if they're having to do their research on Shipley Donuts and they don't have time, you say, if you hire me to be the voice of Shipley Donuts, I will give you a 10-minute report on everything. They were founded in this year. They are headquartered mainly in the South. Their owners are these and these people. These and these people are really big in Facebook in dune buggies. All right. So they're big on, that's the kind of stuff an advertising agency wants to know. I just made that up. All their pictures are in dune buggies, or all they do is run Ironmans. They run Ironmans all the live long day. This guy ran 3 last month. That's research that's useful to know about your client, and maybe they don't want to have to do all that research. Where are we? You would like to hire them to provide direction for you on an upcoming audition. Say, hey, you got 15 minutes? I'd love to give you $50 and just let you spend 15 minutes with me and kind of help me through this audition. I've hired people for auditions before. I haven't hired a potential client. But if they're a casting agency or they're an e-learning marketing firm or they're an advertising agency, because you're like, well, you know what it should sound like, and I just want to nail this audition. Even if you don't nail the audition, was that $50 well spent? It is if they hire you once. I just made up that money. Hey, what's up? You want some food? Okay. Order me a quesadilla. Love you. Food. Braden's waving at you.
We all said hi.
She's actually out in the control room and can see you guys on the TV out there.
Of course you did, Steve. You're just gonna ruin everything, huh? Like mom and dad's marriage.
I think she's.
Yeah. Don't think I forget.
I stick with what I know.
All right. You can hire them to provide advice on your career because you respect them and like the voice actors that they hire. Okay. And there's something to be said for becoming someone that someone likes. You know what I mean? For example, I've cast many of my students because I know you and like you. I put you guys on my roster, and if you're good enough, you get hired. But I'm not just offering that out to every voice actor that I know because, one, I can't sort through them all and all that stuff. But if your sound's okay, I'll be happy to pitch you to my Chinese video game clients that pay $3 a line, which sucks when they only give you 3 lines. It's great when they give you 100, right? It's $100. That's $300. Where am I? Ask them to provide direction on a casting decision. So let's say they were casting, you saw the casting, you didn't get cast. You wait a month or so and you say, hey, I'm looking back on that and I saw the commercial and it's fantastic. I'm curious because I'm trying to learn more about this business. Why'd you guys go with a British voice? Or why did you guys pick female instead of male? Or whatever. Or it sounds ethnic. Why did you guys choose an urban voice? I'm not racist or anything. You should always say that after you say urban voice. I'm just kidding. Tell them you've referred other people to them and you're now following up to see if they've contacted them. Don't do that, though, if you haven't referred anybody. Tell them you work with other voice actors and can help them cast. If they have cast a few times, they may be pretty sick of that, especially if it's a 1 or 2 man show, and they like different voices every time. You know what? I've done that for that one client that I picked up off that postcard. Sometimes he wants voice of God, and so I've gotten Jean-Francois Donaldson, who's a friend of mine from Florida, who like his website is thedeepvoiceguy.com. And so, night, Melanie. She left. Why is everybody leaving? Oh, okay.
It's 11, like almost 11:30.
On the East Coast. That's right. And so I just tell the client, I'll cash this for 10% on top of. So if it's a $250 job, you give me $25 and I cast it. I don't know that that's worth it other than to stay top of mind with him. And sure enough, every now and then he contacts me and says, hey, budget for this $150. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll have it for you in 20 minutes. Here it is. Tell them you will provide custom demos for any genre just for them in case they're entertaining a new client. So if they're getting wooed by a computer software firm, you just tell them, hey, let me know, and I'll record you a quick demo for computer software e-learning or whatever it is they're doing. There was a dude in the session who stood up and said, I've done that. I made a custom demo for computer programmers, and I've been hired 7 times just from that one company because I made them a custom demo for that. I thought, okay. Tell them you work odd hours and you're available when others aren't. I don't know what those odd hours might be. Maybe they're German and you just happen to work an odd shift and you're available at 3 a.m., which is 10 a.m. in Germany, right? And a quick turnaround for a German client might work out well. Tell them you have never messed up a slate. Everybody was like, what? He's like, it's probably true. I mean, all you do is say your name. Andy Field, 3 takes. I've never messed that up. Okay. Tell them you will match their sound quality. Don't tell them that if you're not somebody who can do that. I can't do that. Tell them you work with an engineer who makes sure everything you do is excellent, if you do. Or maybe you're an engineer. Pigeonhole yourself. Choose a fine niche and tell the client you specialize in it. Do a custom demo and a custom web page. A whole freaking web page just for automotive commercials. I know a lot of voice actors who have a landing page just for automotive, or just for luxury cars, or just for restaurants. I don't know. Custom niche. Offer to find voice actors for multiple voice dialogue scripts. So maybe they're doing a commercial and they got man 1, man 2, woman, and the announcer. 4 voices. Tell them you'll help them. Tell them you're happy to help with poorly written copy. You gotta, you could say that in your very first email, but once they've send you some copy, you got to be delicate about how you word that. You can't say, man, you guys copy sucks. Who's writing that? And they go, it's me. And it sounds fantastic. What are you talking about? But especially foreign clients where English is their second, third, fourth language, offering to help them with the Americanizing the copy is a nice offer. Tell them you save all your microphones and settings so that you can match the quality even years later. So if Steve is recording on that Yeti today through Twisted Wave with a Manley VoxBox plugin, and 5 years from now, he's got a Neumann U87 that he paid a cool $3,200 for, and he's running that through an Avalon preamp and all that stuff. And then his client calls back and says, hey, you remember we hired you for that $100 gig? We've got another one. He could pull out the Yeti, plug it right in the USB port, and go. And pull up that old software and go. Tell them you give a discount for repeat clients. And the way you handle that is just charge them a little bit more in the first place. It's a $250 job, make a $275 job. Tell them I'll knock $25 off every time from now on. Just for you. If they hire you for 2 competitors, you'll use an alias. I've never heard of anyone needing to do that, but I thought, okay. So if you're the voice of Chili's and you're the voice of Applebee's, you'll tell the Applebee's people that your name is Tom Field instead of Andy Field. I don't know. Tell them you don't have thin skin when being directed. Apparently, this is an issue where when people direct, people with thin skin get all offended and butthurt about it. And I really like the term butthurt, by the way. I don't know why I like it so much, but we say it a lot in the military. Like, oh, you got all butthurt about it. Anyway, if you don't have thin skin, you can take direction. And then tell them you send cookies for every job. But you got to follow up. If you get hired, you got to send cookies. And there's nothing wrong with sending cookies anyway. I think that's a pretty good technique. So I thought those were interesting, and I thought those were useful. And you may be inspired already to have a whole new thing that you say. But it's the idea of those isn't necessarily to get the client to take you up on that. It's to get them to remember you a month later or 2 months later. And they go, who was that? There was a voice actress that said that thing about cookies. And they go to their email and they search for cookies and they find it. And they email you back and they say, hey, Jenny, I just remembered I liked your demo and we want to take you up on the cookies. Here's a job. Our budget is $250. You know, we need it back in 3 days. And Jenny goes, boom. And then send me your mailing address so I can give you an invoice and some cookies. Send the invoice in the cookie box. So that's the idea behind that. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I don't have any big things left that I have time to share. Any questions? No questions. Okay. So I'm going to read some names to you. I hired Celia Siegel a few years ago to manage my voiceover career. And what I did is for a few $100s a month, every Friday, we got a 30-minute phone call together where she just kind of coached me through, what are we doing here? And so she named off some great coaches. Hey. Kate? She's sneaking around in there. I don't think she's in there. So great coaches. She said David Lyerly is a great coach for video games and demo production. However, David Lyerly got hired as the voice casting director, I think, at Blizzard, and so he's not doing that necessarily. Everett Oliver, and I've been meaning to get Everett to run a character voice session for me and my students, and you just pay a little, I don't know what it was, $30, $40, and it's an hour or two long. Everett is amazing, though. I've hired Everett twice to coach me through an audition, and I can't even remember what I paid him, maybe $30 for 15 minutes or something like that. I didn't land either one of them, but I've had friends say I hired Everett Oliver to coach me in an audition, and I landed the job. So Dave Walsh is a great coach for long narration. I've hired Dave Walsh myself for commercial, and he's phenomenal. He pulls skills out of me that I didn't know I had. She recommended Maurice Tobias's weekend workshops. I have never looked any more into Maurice Tobias. And she recommended Chuck Duran. And these are my notes from February of 2017. And here I am hiring Chuck Duran, flying out to meet him in a couple weeks. She said, make a list of money-making activities and do something on that list every day. So what are activities you do as a voice actor that are moneymakers? No. Auditions is one, right? Those are moneymakers. What else can you do every day? It's a moneymaker. That's not a moneymaker, but it's moving you towards making money. Sending out marketing emails. You should do that every day. I don't.
Cold calling?
Cold calling. If you're a cold calling person, it's not necessary, but it's effective. And what we mean by cold calling, if you're young and don't know that term, is literally calling someone who is not expecting you and selling yourself. Hey, can I talk to the person in your advertising agency that hires voice talent? Oh, you're talking to him. Hey, my name's Andy Field. I'm a voice actor. I've been doing this for a while, about 4 years. I'd love to get on you guys' roster if you keep a roster. And they say, well, we don't. We actually use an agency. Really? Who's your agency? They say, blah, 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 blah. And I said, do you ever hire outside of that? And they're like, yeah, sure we do. I said, well, would you mind if I send you my demo? And they said, sure. I said, hey, thanks so much for your time. I'm going to shoot this over to you. And you send them your demo. That's a cold call. That's it. You don't stay on too long with them, nothing like that. Send thank you notes every time you get hired. I don't do it every time, but I do it a lot. And a lot of times I'll stick a $10 Starbucks card in with it. Or sometimes I look up on Google Maps where the client is and see what's nearby. Like I sent a client a Sonic gift card one time because there's a Sonic right around the corner. I said, slushes and ice creamer on me, because it was like July when I sent it. And I sent him a $10 Sonic card. Birthdays are important to people. They aren't particularly to me. But remembering when people's birthdays are, don't say happy birthday to people you don't know. Oh, I wrote that in my own notes because I personally find that off-putting. I took my birthday off all social media. I don't want 200 new messages on Facebook saying happy birthday, because now I got to go delete them or get them off my wall, because I want my wall to, on LinkedIn, I don't want any more messages saying, hey, happy birthday. Jody Kringle, who's an established voice actress, keeps a stack of Starbucks cards and mails them out all the time, kind of like thinking of you cards. So imagine you go spend $200 and you have 20 $10 Starbucks cards sitting on your desk. And you say, hey, that guy that hired me 3 years ago, just send him a little card. Hey, how's things going? Just thinking of you. Just coffee's on me today. Hope you have a good one. You almost always get hired from that. She always gets a booking. So $200 worth of $10 Starbucks cards results in 20 bookings at several $100s a piece. That's a pretty good investment. Resume. I'm trying. I'm trying to. Okay, so next week I'm going to talk to you more about connecting via email, but get you a business mindset. So here's your homework for this week. Don't spend forever on it. Spend 15 to 30 minutes developing a business mindset. Google, who should I read to be smart in business? Dale Carnegie. He wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. Great business book. Well worth the read. But if you don't want to read the whole thing, then just Google Dale Carnegie and just read the highlights. There's like 7 big things on how to win friends and influence people. There's tons of these business thinkers out there. Get yourself in the business mindset, because voiceover is a business. You are running a business and you are selling yourself. Dave Ramsey is okay for business, but he's very good for personal finance, I think. He's incredible for personal finance. And really, if you would rather watch Dave Ramsey, you just go to YouTube and watch his rants. They're hilarious. They're awesome. I watch them on 1.5 speed so that they take 2/3 the time. And so a 9-minute rant takes 6 minutes, and I still get everything. Your brain can. I watch everything on YouTube at 1.5 or double speed, depending on how fast the speaker talks. But you want to get in the business mindset, get a positive mindset. You can do this. I'll give you an example. Tom Brady already had the Super Bowl on his calendar preseason. Before the football season began, Tom Brady had the Super Bowl marked on his calendar and was planning on being there. Don't ask me what year that was, but I'm going to say all of them, right? Get in that mindset now. Go ahead and have your brain, go read some business stuff this week, but have your brain saying, I am going to make money at this. I am going to quit this job, okay? I am going to get to a point where my voiceover work is hard to do because I'm having to work a full-time job also. And I'm going to have to make a decision. I'm going to get there. Just go ahead and say that you're there, and then go read some business stuff this week. I'm going to put that into Facebook as our homework, and then I want people to comment, because what's really awesome is when 9 people comment. Even though you don't, 9 of you should comment, and that way we all kind of catch everybody's little business mindsets. I already gave you one. The answer is yes. What's the question? All right. So we will see you guys next week. What's the homework?
Make a business mindset. Take 30 to 15 minutes.
15 to 30 minutes. Just study somebody that does business. Another one of my favorites is John Acuff, Acuff, a distant relative of country music legend Roy Acuff. That's from your daddy's country music. All right. So We will see you guys.
Steve.
Okay. And Braden, I'm putting you. Who wants to be the host? Braden, you want to be the host?
Sure, I'll be here until like midnight. So.
All right. So we are done here. See you guys next week. Bye bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.